So some might say that sentience is the capacity to feel, to have a perception of feelings. Other people have equated it to consciousness, which in itself is incredibly difficult to define, mercurial. And so the simpler, the most kind of parsimonious explanation, and the explanation that I decided to stick with for the book, was the creatures that sense, that see, that hear, that smell. And that's therefore, under that definition, all creatures on Earth are sentient. And with that definition, it enabled me to really explore what we mean by this term. I mean, it's really tricky because we're talking about internal subjective states. Tristan, I've got no idea how you're seeing me right now. I don't know what you're seeing in terms of color, maybe even in terms of, you know, dimension. Or what you're hearing or smelling. And so for us to ask, then for us to leap into the mind of another creature that lives in completely different environments to us is nigh on impossible. Sentience is the hard problem of biology, perhaps the most pressing problem that biology has right now. So there's so much research being done into this area. And it's you know, it's growing and it's fascinating. And it's, for me, science has always been about the big questions. That's where my pulse starts to kind of beat a bit faster. And this is exactly one of those places. It's where science and neuroscience and physiology brushes up against philosophy. And in that space, the swirl of information and what it means is, to my mind, fascinating. It basically, our senses circumscribe our every waking moment. So the reason why the animals were really important is that they enabled me some distance. You know, this is how a mantis shrimp sees the world. Oh, look, there are various similarities with its eyes and our eyes. It enabled me to re-examine our eyes, and for someone to get a bit of distance on the way that they see color, in order to realize how spectacular it is. We are nature. I don't think we should divide a line between us and nature. We've got to think of us as one community. I mean, clearly we have a big impact. We often make that line, but we are part of nature. I mean, what we've been doing has set up problems within our world, but we are. I think it's. As a scientist, I wouldn't have any problems looking at animals to understand how to make the world a better place. I think that's part of our nature, but we do have a responsibility, without a doubt. Very many. There was this wonderful. I need to quote E.O. Wilson because sadly he only just passed away, and I think he described Earth as a mostly unexplored planet. And that's the kind of optimism, and it's joyful in a way to know that there is still so much more to learn from this planet. We think that we've kind of been to every single corner, but there is still so much to learn, and there's so many creatures out there that we haven't yet met.